Most people think the new year changes them. They think flipping a calendar page will erase their self-betrayals, their reactions, their emotional impulses, their lack of discipline. But 2026 is not a fresh start. It's a psychological filter, a silent test that separates the men who are slaves to their emotions from the men who dominate themselves at the deepest level. The weak will enter 2026 hoping things will improve. The distracted will repeat the same patterns, driven by the same feelings that ruined their past. But a different kind of man, cold, sharp, strategic, will use this year to kill everything inside him that once controlled him. A man who feels too much cannot lead. A man who reacts too quickly cannot think. A man who is ruled by emotion is a man who can be broken by anyone clever enough to provoke him. This video is not about being positive or staying calm. It is about erasing the emotional version of yourself, the one that hesitates, the one that panics, the one that gets overwhelmed, the one that bleeds power through every impulsive reaction. If you're ready to build a mind that cannot be manipulated, a presence that cannot be shaken, and a will that does not bend, welcome to Zero Emotion. How to build a ruthless mind and total self-control. Rule number 1, the death of impulse. Why emotion makes you weak. Emotion is the oldest form of control. Every empire, every religion, every government, every master has known the same truth. You don't need chains to restrain a man whose emotions restrain him already. A single insult can redirect his entire day. A moment of fear can shut down his mission. A flash of desire can make him betray his values. A wave of anger can make him reveal information he should have kept buried. The emotional man exposes himself constantly. He leaks power from every reaction. He argues when silence would destroy his opponent. He rushes forward when patience would win the game. He speaks without thinking, acts without calculating, breaks without pressure. Emotion makes a man predictable. Predictable men are manipulable. Manipulable men are weak. To build a ruthless mind, you must kill the part of you that reacts first and thinks second. This is the death of impulse. The moment you stop being a creature of sensation and start becoming a creature of strategy. A ruthless mind doesn't suppress emotion. It contains it, locks it in a cold internal chamber, and chooses when and if it's ever allowed to speak. The man who controls his emotions controls his actions. The man who controls his actions controls his world. This is where the transformation begins. Rule 2, emotional distance, the cold mindset. There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes something brutal. Most people are not reacting to the world. They are reacting to their own emotions about the world. And that is why they break. A man ruled by emotion is a man ruled by circumstance. And a man ruled by circumstance is never truly alive. He is merely pulled. If you want a ruthless mind, a strategic mind, an unshakable mind, you must create distance between what you feel and what you choose. This is the birth of the cold mindset. Not numbness, not apathy, but clarity so sharp, it cuts through the emotional fog that blinds ordinary people. The world destroys the emotional. Watch the weak. Insults trigger them. Rejection crushes them. Uncertainty paralyzes them. Pressure collapses them. Fear owns them. The emotional man never sees reality. He only sees his pain, his fear, his wounds, his ego, his insecurity. He never acts. He reacts. But the cold mind does something different. It does not seek comfort, it seeks truth, and truth demands separation. Distance is the steel door between you and chaos. When someone insults you, you observe, you don't absorb. When someone tries to provoke you, you evaluate, you don't react. When uncertainty appears, you strategize, you don't panic. Emotional distance is not indifference, it is dominance over the inner storm. Because when you step back, even by a few inches mentally, people lose their power over you. They can no longer control your mood. They can no longer manipulate your reactions. They can no longer predict your behavior. And unpredictability is power. Coldness is not cruelty, it is control. A ruthless mind doesn't lash out, it doesn't crumble. It doesn't seek validation, it doesn't explode, it doesn't beg, it doesn't chase. It watches, it calculates, it chooses. Coldness is the removal of emotional noise, so that only pure intention remains. It allows you to speak less, move slower, think deeper, and act with precision, while the emotional drown in confusion. This is the mindset of the untouchable, the man who cannot be triggered. the man who cannot be manipulated, the man who cannot be broken. Emotional distance is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of feeling. It is the moment you stop being a slave to your emotions, and your emotions become a weapon you choose when necessary. Only then can you build a mind that is hard, sharp, silent, a mind worthy of true self-control. Rule 3, the discipline of no reaction. If Rule 2 taught you emotional distance, Rule 3 teaches you something even more dangerous, the power of giving people nothing. Most men think power comes from action, from speaking, correcting, arguing, defending, proving they are wrong. In reality, one of the most terrifying forms of strength is the ability to not react, even when the world pressures you to break your silence. Because reaction is a currency, reaction is energy. Reaction is information, reaction is control. Every time you react, you pay. Every time you react, you expose. Every time you react, you reveal where you can be reached. A man who reacts easily is a man easily defeated. The ruthless mind learns the opposite. Reaction is a luxury, reserved only for moments you choose, not moments you're pushed into. This is where most people crumble. They react when they're insulted. They react when they're ignored. They react when they feel jealous. They react when they feel insecure. They react when someone else gets attention. They react when they feel disrespected. They react because they must. Their ego demands it. Their insecurity forces it. Their fear triggers it. They are slaves to every emotional spark that burns inside them. You cannot build a ruthless mind with that weakness. You cannot build inner power while bleeding reactions everywhere you go. The man with no reaction becomes unreadable, and the unreadable man becomes untouchable. When you don't react, people can't tell if they've offended you. They can't tell if you're threatened. They can't tell if you're impressed. They can't tell if you're jealous. They can't tell what you're thinking. They can't tell what you want. And when people cannot read you, they cannot control you. This is why silence is a weapon. This is why stillness is a strategy. This is why withholding reaction makes you the one who sets the tone. The moment you stop giving people access to your emotional switches, you become someone they fear to misread. No reaction is not weakness, it's calibration. A ruthless mind understands that most situations do not deserve a reaction. They deserve analysis. You respond when strategic. You remain silent when powerful. You observe when necessary. You reveal nothing when attacked. This level of discipline builds a presence that feels cold, heavy, composed. People sense it. They feel it in your eyes, your posture, your pace. The man who reacts to nothing becomes a man people must approach with caution, not because he is violent, but because his silence hides a mind that could be planning anything. The less you react, the more you control. This is the discipline that separates the fragile from the formidable. Rule 4, the power of emotional absence. There is a kind of strength the modern world no longer understands, a strength so rare, so controlled, so precise, that most men never touch it. The ability to be emotionally absent while still being physically present. Not numb, not disconnected from reality, not apathetic in a pathetic way. No. This is strategic emotional withdrawal, the skill of turning off the emotional channel inside you so you can think, observe, and decide without interference from impulse or vulnerability. Most people live with their emotions in always-on mode. They feel everything too quickly, too strongly, too personally. Every slight becomes pain. Every comment becomes judgment. Every disagreement becomes a threat. Every loss becomes identity. A man like that cannot lead himself. He cannot navigate chaos. He cannot be trusted by others. He cannot rise. The ruthless mind learns the opposite. Your emotions are tools, not masters. You turn them on when they serve you. You turn them off when they weaken you. This is power. Why emotional absence is feared. People are terrified of someone who can detach their emotions at will, because most humans rely on emotional cues to manipulate others. They expect guilt to work. They expect shame to work. They expect anger to provoke you. They expect jealousy to influence you. They expect pressure to break you. They expect your feelings to reveal your weaknesses. But when your emotional channel goes silent, when nothing they say pulls a reaction, when nothing they do shakes your center, they lose their map to controlling you. Your emotional absence feels like standing in front of a locked vault. No handles, no windows, no openings. People project their fear into the empty space you leave. and that fear gives you leverage. Emotional absence is not coldness, it is control. A ruthless mind does not suppress emotion. Suppressing emotion causes leaks, cracks, explosions. A ruthless mind redirects emotion. You don't eliminate fear, you convert it into focus. You don't eliminate anger, you channel it into discipline. You don't eliminate desire, you weaponize it as ambition. You don't eliminate pain, you turn it into endurance. Emotion becomes fuel, not fire. A blade, not a burden. Your presence becomes heavy. When you walk into a room with emotional stillness, you change the atmosphere. People feel the difference between a man who is emotionally fragile and a man who is emotionally fortified. Fragile men show their inner world on their face. Fortified men show nothing unless they choose to reveal it. The absence of emotional noise gives your presence more gravity. It makes people uncertain. It makes them adjust themselves around you. It makes them question what you're thinking. And that uncertainty becomes influence. Your mind becomes sharper. Emotional absence allows you to think without bias, judge without fear, observe with clarity, plan without pressure, decide without insecurity. You stop bleeding energy on internal storms. You stop letting temporary feelings ruin long-term moves. You stop being manipulated by the emotional chaos of others. You become unshakable without ever raising your voice. Your will becomes untouchable. When emotions no longer control you, no person, no insult, no temptation, no distraction can move you off your path. You act with precision. You move with strategy. You choose with intention. This is the foundation of ruthless self-control. This is the architecture of an unbreakable mind. This is the power that makes you a threat without ever showing aggression. Emotional absence is not detachment from life. It is detachment from weakness. Rule 5. The discipline of delayed emotion. There is a psychological weapon almost no one talks about. Not emotional control, not emotional detachment, but something far more strategic. Delayed emotion. Not reacting now, not feeling now, not responding now. You postpone the emotional experience until it is useful or until it becomes irrelevant. This is one of the highest forms of inner power because it takes the thing that enslaves most men, their immediate emotional reaction, and turns it into a controlled asset. Why delayed emotion is superior to suppression. Most men suppress their emotions. They choke them down. They pretend. They force themselves to stay calm. And then it leaks. Later, at the wrong time, in the wrong place, at the wrong person. Suppression is pressure without direction. Delayed emotion is pressure under command. You say to your emotion, "Not now. You will wait until I'm done thinking, deciding, and acting." It's not denial. It's scheduling. The world expects immediate reactions. This is why people stay predictable. They have consistent emotional patterns: insult, anger, loss, sadness, temptation, desire, pressure, anxiety, disagreement, defensiveness, conflict, ego, challenge, fear. Every reaction is instant. Every reaction is unconscious. Every reaction reveals something. But when you delay the emotion, the chain breaks. Someone insults you, nothing. Someone pressures you, nothing. Someone tries to provoke you, nothing. Someone tries to guilt trip you, nothing. You're not frozen. You're not numb. You're simply busy thinking while they're busy feeling. This is how you win psychological battles without ever entering them. Delayed emotion makes you unreadable. Most people scan faces, tones, micro-expressions to understand the emotional terrain of others. When they can't read you, 3 things happen. Their confidence collapses. They don't know if you're offended, calm, planning, or simply uninterested. Their strategy fails. You've removed the feedback loop they depend on. They adjust themselves around you. This is where control begins, when others modify their behavior because your emotional silence destabilizes them. Your delayed emotion becomes their psychological confusion. Your power rises because your timeline is different. People who react instantly live in emotional poverty. They burn energy fast. They lose composure fast. They reveal themselves fast. A ruthless mind plays a long game. You think before you feel. You analyze before you react. You choose before the emotion takes root. And when the emotion finally arrives, if it still matters, you process it cleanly, rationally, silently. Emotion becomes an event you observe, not a storm you drown in. You stop making emotional mistakes. Most regrets come from reacting too quickly. The message sent in anger, The decision made under fear, the apology made under guilt, the promise made under excitement, the argument escalated under ego, the outburst made under insecurity. Delayed emotion creates a buffer, a space where logic can operate while emotion waits its turn. You stop bleeding your future for the sake of the present moment. Your presence becomes intimidating. People feel it immediately. You don't give them the emotional hooks they expect. You don't rise to the bait. You don't get shaken by tone. You don't get influenced by pressure. You don't get seduced by praise. They cannot access your emotional center, and what cannot be accessed cannot be controlled. This is when people start calling you cold. But in truth, you're so controlled that others feel warm by comparison. Your discipline exposes their chaos. Delayed emotion rewires your identity. Every time you delay emotion, your mind learns. You are not a slave to impulses. You are not controlled by external forces. You are not weak simply because you feel. You are the one who decides when emotion matters and when it does not. This is the foundation of a ruthless mind. The world moves fast, you don't. And because of that, you win. Rule 6, the power of emotional invisibility. There is a form of strength so rare, so unsettling, and so psychologically dominant that most people never encounter it in their lifetime. Emotional invisibility. Not emotional suppression. Not emotional numbness. Not emotional detachment. Those are primitive forms of control, visible, noticeable, almost performative. Emotional invisibility is different. It's advanced. It's strategic. It's Machiavellian. It means your emotional world is fully functional, but completely hidden behind a surface that reveals nothing. Because the most powerful man in the room is the one you cannot read. People rely on emotional data to understand intentions, a twitch of the jaw, a change in tone, a quick inhale, a flicker in the eyes, a shift in posture, a brief silence, a sudden blink. These microsignals betray fear, interest, insecurity, attraction, anger, ego, weakness, hesitation. And most people broadcast these without realizing it. But emotional invisibility is the removal of that broadcast. You still feel, you simply choose not to leak. Your emotional world becomes a sealed vault, and this alone makes people uneasy. When people can't read you, they can't control you. Control always requires information. A manipulator needs to know what hurts you. A liar needs to know what you believe. An enemy needs to know what you fear. A competitor needs to know what motivates you. A narcissist needs to know what triggers you. A seducer needs to know what attracts you. When none of this is available, their strategies collapse. Even powerful people become clumsy when they're blind. You don't need to outmaneuver them. You just need to be unreadable long enough for their own uncertainty to dismantle their confidence. People project onto you, and projection gives you power. When they don't know how you feel, they guess, they doubt, they overthink, they misinterpret, they hesitate, they fear, they overcompensate. Their mind fills the silence with their own insecurities. They become trapped in their own interpretations of you, not in your reality. And this makes your presence heavier, your words sharper, your silence louder, your authority deeper. Because the less they know, the more they imagine, and the more they imagine, the more they submit to their own fear. Emotional invisibility protects your weaknesses. Even the strongest men have insecurities, self-doubt, or confusion. But when you're emotionally invisible, your moments of weakness become unobservable. Your internal battles become unexploitable. Your doubts become irrelevant. No one sees you fall internally. No one sees you hesitate. No one sees you struggle. You can be at war inside, and no one would ever suspect it. This grants you the freedom to rebuild yourself in private, while maintaining an aura of strength in public. Emotional invisibility increases your influence. Influence requires mystery. People follow those they cannot fully decode. They are intrigued by those who don't reveal everything. They pay attention to those whose silence feels intentional. They respect those who seem self-contained. Your emotional composure becomes a gravitational force. It makes people lean in. It makes them watch more closely. It makes them listen more carefully. It makes them consider your words with more weight, because anything rare becomes valuable, and emotional invisibility is extremely rare. Your identity becomes unshakable. Most people's sense of self is fragile because it relies on external validation, external agreement, external reassurance, external harmony. Once you remove emotional visibility, you remove the world's ability to shape your identity. You stop asking, what do they think of me? What do they feel about me? How do they perceive me? And instead you ask, what do I think? What do I feel? What do I choose? You become the sole architect of your emotional world. Your reality becomes internally produced, not externally manufactured. And that is the foundation of psychological invincibility. Emotional invisibility is the final layer of power, because the moment someone cannot read your emotions, they also cannot predict your actions, cannot understand your intentions, cannot influence your decisions, cannot provoke your reactions, and cannot destabilize your mind. You become a walking question mark, a man wrapped in controlled mystery. And mystery is the mother of power. A ruthless mind is not a mind without feeling. It is a mind that governs feeling. Emotion becomes fuel, not a prison. Pain becomes instruction, not identity. Silence becomes strategy, not weakness. Detachment becomes vision, not apathy. Self-control becomes power, not restriction. The ruthless mind is not born, it is engineered. Engineered in moments of restraint, in nights of solitude, in decisions no one sees, in battles fought internally, in the refusal to let impulses become destiny. Because the truth is this, the average man is ruled by emotion. The exceptional man rules emotion itself. The world bows to the one who can stay cold in chaos, calm in conflict, strategic in uncertainty, and immovable under pressure. This is the path of zero emotion, not the destruction of feeling, but the mastery of it. The world does not belong to the loud. The world belongs to the controlled. And now you carry the blueprint. Detach, discipline, observe, execute, rise. This has been Zero Emotion, how to build a ruthless mind and total self-control. Welcome to Obsidian Mastery.